Hallöchen YouTube und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Our Life, Beginnings and Always. Wir spielen weiter. Ich bringe hier alles zum Beben. Wir spielen weiter und haben noch 3 Momente. Ja, wir haben noch 3 Momente übrig. Einmal Grown Up, Long Day und Fireflies. Und ja, ich würde einfach sagen, dass wir jetzt die Fireflies nehmen, weil wir so, wobei, wir hatten das letzte Mal ja Sandcastle und das ist ja nicht so gut ausgegangen, deswegen würde ich jetzt einfach mal Long Day nehmen, weil das für mich so scheint, als wenn halt etwas so richtig unangenehm lang dauert. Wir machen damit einfach weiter. Und ich habe vergessen, dass ich auch vorlesen muss. Okay. Wir machen einfach weiter. So. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished 1 cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Okay. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel... ja, wenn ich die ganze Zeit wirklich gefühlt mit mir selbst reden müsste, wäre ich irgendwann mal so richtig so, boah, nerv nicht. Aber andererseits würde ich dann halt auch so... bisschen Schlaumeier sein, so, ne? Und dann wäre ich so ein bisschen so, Nein, aber ich nehme frustrated. He was always wanting to hear what you thought instead of giving his own opinion and expected you to come up with the plans. It was hard work, especially for such a hot day. Ja, okay. Genau so fühle ich's. You drank yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet, something like... a popsicle, an ice cream cone, an ice cream sandwich. A popsicle. You wanted something fruity and brightly colored. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. You sighed. You voiced your predicament aloud. Was bedeutet das? You asked Shiloh for help. You sighed. As much as you really wanted that treat, it wasn't going to happen. What's wrong? I want a popsicle. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have any here and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Oh. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins plus 1 stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. Ich bin, glaube ich, da in der Hinsicht sehr pessimistisch und würde sagen so, ist nicht genug. Aber ich möchte halt auch kein Arsch sein. It's a start. It's a start? Oder not a start. It's not enough. It's a start. Ja komm, vielleicht haben wir ja noch eine Sparbüchse oder sowas, ne? It's a start. Shiloh beamed at you. Oh. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sandy crumbs, but every so often one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Ja, natürlich. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow cancelled out any other feelings you might have had about that. Yeah! You could now afford something at the shops, just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! Aber es reicht doch nur für eins. The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar You on your tour destination were breathless but happy. You stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed the funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting a popsicle? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea, you should choose. Shiloh macht mich ein bisschen wütend. Are you really sure it's okay? You tried to get something you both wanted anyway. Ja komm, das ist ein bisschen so. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one to decide when he'd been the main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them, they're so good. You pressed further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice creams? Which is your favorite? Oh, it's so hard to pick, I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Ja. Das würde mich so aufregen. Das würde mich so aufregen. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You sucked on the fruity popsicle you'd bought. The icy treat cooled you down perfectly, and the zesty flavor was refreshing. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head.
You can finish it.
Die wollten sich eins teilen? He didn't want any? After everything he did to help get it? That was weird.
It's okay.
It's okay, Jen. You want it more than I do, and I'm really happy that we got to play today already. You finish it. Well, it wasn't worth arguing further. The frozen treat was being worn away by the sun and starting to trickle dangerously towards your fingers. If you waited much longer, then neither of you would be getting to eat it. Alright, thanks. The two of you began to head back home as you ate. You offered the treat once more to Shiloh, but he refused again. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt, or was too afraid to. You figured that was his problem and didn't care? Are you scared of me? You thought that was kind of sad? Are we friends? Für mich wäre das ein bisschen traurig. You thought that was kind of sad. Not being able to talk to people isn't fun, and you didn't want to be the kind of person people were scared to tell their honest opinion to. You considered asking Shiloh about it, but if he couldn't give an opinion on something like ice cream, then he wasn't going to open up about this too. Hat für mich ein Tür gefehlt. You hoped for the best. Maybe you were wrong, or if you were right, maybe he'd feel better about it soon. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times and there had been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing at least. The treat was delicious and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon and you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. Ich habe das Gefühl, dass die Schwester so eine richtig fiese Kuh ist. You whipped straight over Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you defended Cove, took a moment to make a joke, accused Lizzie of causing trouble, carefully asked about what happened. Carefully asked about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Richtig. Cove, what happened?
Jenny.
Das war aber ein sehr großes. Jenny. I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Oh, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Yeah, Lizzie's sad. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do? No. I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
Cove glared but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, aren't you? Yeah. Cluck cluck. You'd rather just avoid them. You thought they deserve worse. I'll do it. You'd rather just avoid them. You looked at the house. Behind those closed doors lurked two beings, rich in years but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation. Maybe they didn't, but that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. It was safer to stay far away from them. You could live without the hassle. I'm not doing it either. Another chicken for the coop. This is a hen house now. If we are chickens, you're a lizard, Lizzie. Asko, Hallöchen, wie geht's dir? Wir sehen jetzt weg, Chicken. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain. Chick, chick, chicken. The condo door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's wizened face was set in a scowl, which was to say he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was his normal face. What are you kids doing loitering outside my house? Or maybe he was always just in a terrible mood. Nothing. Nothing? He repeated the word as if it was the greatest crime anyone would commit. Nothing good, more like get lost. Alter. Alter. It wasn't as if he owned the space outside the house, but Cope's eyes, still red from his earlier tears, were wide, and you thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off while Shiloh immediately trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cope, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. Weiß doch schlechten Menschen und Unkraut. Und wir? Schon im Weihnachtsmodus? Noch nicht ganz. Vielleicht heute Abend, wenn ich ein bisschen wieder eingekauft habe, dekomäßig. Ich habe gestern leider nicht so viel gefunden. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Ist so, richtig so. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be the second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. And it was fine, you thought. You still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today. And it was always annoying. It was fine. So, man weiß ja. Man weiß es ja. Shiloh could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. You closed your eyes, laid on your side and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that. It felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, you saw a car, you saw an alpaca, you saw a smiley face, you saw cloud shapes. You saw a dolphin. You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Look, a dolphin! Einkaufen, du erinnerst mich an was, aber es ist Donnerstag, heißt Rentner-Einkaufstag. Darf man da nur in Rüstung ins Geschäft? Achso, darf man nur in Rüstung ins Geschäft, ja. Fühle ich ein bisschen. Cove joined you in gazing skywards. Yeah, I see it. Oh, er lächelt. Really? No, but I like dolphins. Hey. He chuckled at your reaction. No. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. Let's go get away. They say. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go there too, were too tired to argue, were happy to do what the others wanted, objected to the plan. Ich wollte auch gehen. You wanted to go there too. So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand Too big to belong to any of you were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge, the waves tickling your feet. I wonder what would... Warum so viele Bs? I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be so serious about everything. So stell ich mir vor, ist Lizzie. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too, bubble baths are luxurious. You'd never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Was sie wohl noch so im Bad macht. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while, she's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Sind wir schon wieder in so einer Situation? Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Jenny. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. Oh Gott, ist das so unangenehm. You joked about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. Oh Gott, nein! Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. You didn't say anything. Ich müsste irgendwas einwerfen. Even if they are all different, our parents are good in their own ways. Yeah. Cove couldn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, a foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. You made a run for it. You were already too dirty and wet for comfort. Nothing that happened there would feel as good as getting dry. You got out of the water before anyone could catch you again. Perching on a rock, you scraped the wet sand from your legs as you watched the others. The sand came away in thick chunks at first, like clay, but where it had been thinner, it had already dried and clung to your skin. Cove and Lizzie were relentless, while Shiloh mostly just dodged. Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Shiloh sat up, shaking his hair like a dog coming in from the rain as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you Dumbo. Die ist so gemein. Die ist so gemein. You offered him some help up, yeah. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Warum sind die so gemein zu mir? Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh too. Natürlich. He reached over and took it. Slowly he started to pull himself from the ground. Natürlich. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row, you thought? They must be low. But there's no way Shadow would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Like Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung aside. Your arms swung side to side as cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside, chatting to Cove's dad. We're back. Your moms' faces fell as they took in the state you all were in, ranging from messy to soaked.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all that you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. Finde ich gut. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home? Cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. True. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. Also, ich weiß auch nicht, ne? Ich finde ihn gut. You've been out making memories, Bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right, kids. What can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. That a boy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Also manchmal, ne? Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, Coulter family, and Shiloh too.
Fine.
We'd better do what we can to fix you guys up. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom.
Ugh.
Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mummy had found, you waited in the hall until you were less sandy. You weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you didn't get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. So you did get to eat a sandwich, okay. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat on for once. Oh, Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Wow. Süß. Ich glaube, dann nehmen wir jetzt mal die Grown-Ups. Und dann so zum Abschluss, so Fireflies, das hört sich an wie ein schöner Abschluss. Also von dem, von der Childhood, von der Kindheit. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you along with Lizzie to play amongst yourself. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. The three of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyway. They're always inside and telling everybody they're too busy to play.
Why?
Why?
Duh.
I said why? And it'll be fun, duh. What do they do inside that we don't? Besides use the phone a lot. Kauf, wenn du wüsstest. Aber noch nicht in dem Alter. Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove.
What do you think?
Jenny, what do you think? Do you want to? Cove said it. That doesn't sound fun. I bet we could come up with something else. I don't know. I want to. Ja, die Frage ist halt, was macht man denn dann so, ne? Das ist halt so ein Ding. Habt ihr schon mal Erwachsensein gespielt? Ich noch nie. Ich wollte nie erwachsen werden. Und jetzt bin ich's. Gefällt mir nicht. I bet we could come up with something else. Ach komm, so, I don't know. Please, Jenny, when have I ever had a bad idea? Oft. Whenever we play with you. Oh my god, ey, Kobe fühlst. I wasn't asking you. Wir haben das gern gespielt. Echt? Nee, ich gar nicht. Ich habe immer Aschenputtel gespielt und Bügelperlen sortiert. I'll try, but that sounds boring. Okay, I'll stay. Sorry, I have other stuff to do. You kept hesitating. So, I'll try, but that sounds boring. Ich glaube, wir kommen da sowieso auch nicht drum herum. I'll try, but that sounds boring. It's not gonna be, I guarantee. Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you. Okay, I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Jenny, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? Adults? Yep. But there's other kinds of sports too.
Right?
It isn't the same. What do you think, Jenny? Don't those choices sound super cool? You wanna be that, huh? Was war das jetzt nochmal? Tennis, Volleyball und Gymnastik, ne? Also wenn ich ehrlich bin, ich finde die Sportarten schon cool. Aber ich weiß nicht. Ich habe das Gefühl, dass wir damit Kopf halt total wegdrängen. I kind of like those. Lizzie beamed at you, happy at least one of you liked her idea. Oh yeah, which one sounds the best to you? Out of my list still. Cove was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it for now. He thought over the list of possibilities: beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you'd prefer to play gymnastics. If you couldn't spend the afternoon doing cartwheels and handstands in the backyard, then you might as well practice them inside. There wouldn't be as much space as there was outside, but you could still try. Yes, that was clearly the top option. Okay, I'm gonna be a gymnast. Alright, how about you, Cove? I pick Volleyball. Der Arme, der kann gar nichts davon machen. Siehst du, er macht mit, wenn du sagst, du magst es. Ja, aber so weit ist er, glaube ich, noch nicht auf mich fixiert. I pick Volleyball. I should have known. Okay, so Jenny, you're a famous gymnast, and Cove, you're on a popular beach volleyball team. And Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide. We're Olympic Athleten who just competed in the Olympics. Wartet mal kurz. Halleluja! Es schüttet, Jenny. Bei mir schüttet es richtig. Wir haben eine richtige Wasserlawine auf der Straße. Ja, doch, glaube ich. Glaube ich. Bei Lizzie zieht er immer eine Schnute. Ich weiß nicht, werden wir sehen, was dann gleich so passiert. We're Olympic. Achso, das hatte ich schon. Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific.
Rude.
That's what makes it fun anyway. Lizzie marched back and forth in front of the both of you, getting lost in her own imagination. I won all gold medals and people are calling me the next Mikey Wright. Who's that? Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Willst du? Siehst du, er zieht bei ihr immer eine Fresse. Ja, das weiß ich. Also, das ist mir aufgefallen, ja. Aber ich mag Lizzie auch nicht. Cove, your team was bronze, and Jenny, you barely missed out on the gold and got silver. It's more real if we're not all first place. Das sind alles verschiedene Sportarten. Jeder kann Gold gewinnen von uns. Hallo. Also entweder bleiben wir einfach ruhig, aber ich möchte da gerne sowas haben wie da. Oder, ich weiß nicht. Oder wir bieten ihr jetzt mal einfach die Stirn. Hey, we can do better than Silver. You pouted at Lizzie, unhappy with the decision. Ja, perfekt. Jenny's right. Lizzie hat Main-Character-Syndrom. Ja, und wie?
Sorry.
Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks. Then you're the one who did, not me. Ja, Mann! Kopf los! Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way, it wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game. She took a golfing stance to make a point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball. So what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him, apparently because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm going to live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue. That's kinda boring, we already have that. No, not like the normal houses here with a street. On it, right on the sand by the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you would want to live. That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells. But I want to and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him. You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything?
Jeez.
Jeez, well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you. Die ist so eine Ziege. Ich kann das mit der nicht. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing. How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? True. Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her sides. It is not impossible, and it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand, this time you thought you'd prefer a mansion. Being on the beach was cooler. You wanted to agree with Lizzie. Cove was right. You were tired of deciding between either of them. Leute, ich kann das nicht mehr mit denen. You were tired of deciding, yeah. You didn't engage with their bickering and instead dreamt up your own dream house. And you weren't going to share your idea with them either. You already knew it was a good one. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach. We can still swim anytime we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything, says you. The two of them scowled at each other. You're being so unreasonable. You... I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense.
Ugh.
It does. You have to be realistic. I said that. But you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you'd said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her shirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie! Jenny! It's time to get ready to go.
You alright with that?
Sorry, you have to leave already, Cove. The mommy said she'll walk you home, so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. I can go by myself. But... Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight.
Huh?
Okay. Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you? I told the truth. Nah. We were playing pretend and things got intense. There were like cats and dogs. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed as Mom put both hands on her hips. Elizabeth! I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown. I know I tried, but he was...
That's enough.
No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. Das mag ich. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. Ah, right, we better get a move on.
Let's go.
Let's go, kids. No, Lani? Where did you leave the car keys? Ah, Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Your parents noticed she wasn't in a mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you like to listen to. You picked your favorite song. It always made the car ride more fun. You chose the soundtrack to a cool movie you saw a couple months ago. You chose a song you knew Lizzie liked. Maybe that would cheer her up. Well, you picked your favorite song. It made the car ride more fun. Wenn alle schon gemerkt haben, dass die so ein bisschen mäh ist. Aber das würde sie halt auch nur falsch bestärken, ne? Aber als Kind würde ich das halt wohl echt machen, ne? You choose a song you knew Lizzie liked. Maybe that would cheer her up. Ich kann mir aber auch vorstellen, dass jetzt so ist, weil Kof halt gesagt hat, dass... Hui. Ups. Yeah, you choose a song Lizzie knew, like, yeah. Maybe that would cheer her up. You were happy to see it brighten her up right away, and she started singing along with you. Soon enough, her bad mood was a thing of the past. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that you really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting you hadn't been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that all this helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, with only the radio providing escape from the silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wiggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got back home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened their doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was aside and done taking off their shoes, she popped her hands on her hips.
So?
Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in his driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before this day's done. Ich finde die Mom so nice. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good, let's move to this to the kitchen. Perfect, Mom. Ey, ist so. Mom went over to the house phone, the rest of you following behind her. Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. Okay, you didn't regret it. You felt a little guilty, like you had betrayed your sister. You hadn't liked doing it but had to, but it was her fault for doing it in the first place. So you hadn't liked doing it but had to. Being a tattletale didn't feel good, and you wouldn't want. Being a tattletale didn't feel good, and you wouldn't want someone else to tell your moms everything you did. Still, your mom had asked directly, and you wanted to be a liar even less. Yeah. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a loop-sided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. You remember the number of Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and she began to dial. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening, Holden residence. Lizzie looked over at Mommy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Hi, Mr. Holden. It's Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Lizzie curled her. What a surprise. But of course you can say hey to the boy. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. Lani, Jenny, and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. Guck mal, seine Miene hat sich da... Oh. Einen Moment, wartet. Seine Miene hat sich direkt verzogen. Er hat vorher noch gelacht, dieses typische... Ich weiß nicht. Ich weiß nicht. Aber wir sind mal freundlich. You spoke up to say hello too. Hi, Mr. Holden. The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?
What?
A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good you didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because he could still hear him calling out. Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a bit of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you. It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad.
Hi.
Hi. Hello? Hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know. Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away. Ich finde Mom toll.
Sorry.
I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly. I want gold. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silent by the demand. You could understand why he did it. You had wanted gold too. All right, you win the gold. Okay. Okay. I guess I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone at his acceptance of the apology. Mom uncrossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. He wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get on the phone now? Oh Gott, ich fühle es so sehr. You couldn't see him, but it was so obvious that Cole felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want, but sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie. Bye. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left, since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention. Can I go now too?
Good job.
Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Boah, ey, diese Mom, ne? Ich will auch so eine Mom sein. Also nicht wie Mami, ne? Die mit den roten Haaren. Das ist Mom. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone, talking it off the speaker. They continued talking to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. So, und das letzte. Wow! Alright, tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Boah, geil. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Oh. Einen Moment bitte. Kann ich auch weitermachen? Ja. Meine Mama hat angerufen. So. Yeah, you started eating faster. You looked over at your mom's. You pushed your food around your plate. You started eating faster. A grin curved your lips as you started to eat a bit faster, excited for what was to come. It seemed like you were too excited, however, as you started to choke and cough on your food from shoveling it down so quickly. Mommy reached out over to pat you on the back, firmly helping to dislodge the noodles and enable you to breathe again. You took a big gulp of water from your glass, giving your mom's a sheepish look. Oops. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Coulter? Ach, Shiloh ist auch dabei. Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lightening up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why, probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Okay, Chat, es hat sich geregelt mit meinem Praktikum. Da waren andere schneller. Ich habe eine Mail bekommen, dass sich das jetzt erledigt hat. Musste ich nicht mal eine Mail schreiben. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree.
Wow.
Well, it's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for the response. Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents... Ich kann schon nicht mehr reden, ne? Also danach ist aber auch schon hier fertig mit Vorlesen. Gott sei Dank, ja. Yes. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you'd finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full. Yeah.
Fine.
Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the puppies, okay? Da, Mom. That's where most of them are. Boah, ich hasse Lizzie so sehr, ne? Ich gebe mir so auf die Pisi. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew that they were both telling your kids to slow down. Charlotte did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth.
Jeez.
No one is gonna die, sheesh. Was ist das für eine Nudel? Die essen Nudeln. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could, no doubt, scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest. Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy head. Cove? You had no idea why he was here all of a sudden, but you supposed it wasn't worth worrying over. Instead, your eyes landed on Lizzie, who was looking at Cove like he had come here specifically to ruin all her plans. And then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off cause I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here, alright? So. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him.
Hi.
Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. So? Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could come outside with us if you want to. You weren't sure what to say now. Ich würde sofort einladen. Wir mögen Cove, ja. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. If Cove said no, you'd understand, though catching fireflies wasn't something that everyone liked to do.
Okay.
I want to see them. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been anywhere he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. So ein bisschen geiern, so, was gibt's denn bei euch so Leckeres zu essen, oder? Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. Wow, eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun. This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Charlotte trailed so closely after Lizzie, he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Jenny. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. Are you not gonna come? You tugged him along. You walked with him. You waved at him to hurry. You ran off. You walked with him. You supposed there wasn't any real hurry, and you knew it would be bad to leave him behind entirely. The two of you followed after the footsteps Lizzie and Shiloh left behind until you reached the hill behind your house. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle. Upon seeing the gently glowing, winking lights, you moved a bit faster, eyes widening in delight.
Wow.
Wow! Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green hat. Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You quietly looked on. You shooed the bug away. Ja, wir hätten beide wahrscheinlich gelacht. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? You gestured to his head, and he reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped, then followed after the glow.
Oh.
Oh, look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and concurred. Shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around, the game was on. You had a bandage on your thumb and you tried to be cautious of that. You had a bandage on your palm and you tried to be cautious of that. You had two bandages on your hand and you tried to be cautious of that. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Ja, wohl eher das da. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Weil ich hätte, wenn, dann welche an den Knien gehabt. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin and you giggled at the sensation. Ich weiß nicht, wie Glühwürmchen aussehen. Also ich habe mal welche gesehen, aber ich weiß nicht, wie die aussehen. Also so richtig. Kopf kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Ah. Kopf watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You encouraged him to try again. You told him about the firefly you had. You made a joke about what happened. You did your own things. You encouraged him to try again. You'll get the next one. Kopf didn't say anything, and you thought he must be upset. He walked further up the hill to continue his hunt, and you let your own firefly flutter back into the air. That was fine, you had your own plans. Ja, einmal gefangen, so you decided to sit in the grass and watch. You quietly took a seat among the flowers. The others were jumping and dashing all about. You saw how many times they succeeded and failed, how Shiloh almost tripped a couple times. It was a dramatic show, though around you it was calm. Calm down, calm. The lights of the stars and fireflies surrounded you peacefully. It was a beautiful night. You laughed quietly to yourself as you watched the others, and Shiloh finally managed to catch a firefly between his small hands. His eyes lit up, and when he spread his fingers to take a peek at it, the bug escaped and flew off into the air. Oh! You watched as he pounced after it once more, but your eyes soon landed on Cove, who had failed to catch a firefly yet. You waited to see what happened. You watched as he crept up on an unsuspecting bug so slowly that for a moment you wondered if he was still moving at all. Then he raised his hands towards one of the little bobbing balls of light, closing in on it ever so slowly.
No way!
No! The crafty little critter had escaped his clutches at the last moment, drifting too high up for Cove to reach. While Cove returned to hunting fireflies, you settled for laying back against the soft grass, watching the poppies swaying around you and the fireflies hovering against the vast sky.
Come on!
Jenny, Cove, get up here, we're gonna have a race! Warum? The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eyes you saw Cove was coming as well. You didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi.
Cove.
Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
I guess. The cast was dirty. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. Kann ich selbst? You got into position for the race. I'll stay with Cove. I'm gonna do something else. I'll stay with Cove. Ich hab keine Lust auf sowas. Really? Why? You don't have to. It's okay, I want to watch. You moved beside him on the top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. Wenn ich doch nicht will, Lizzie. That's not how races work. We only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine. I'll be the winner, whether you join or not. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Charlotte did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown! Cove stood up a little straighter. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duties seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Charlotte took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at high speed towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck, until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Charlotte a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stomped out of the bush she had ended up in, spluttering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad, you got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in. No. You snickered, feeling grateful you hadn't been a part of the mini debacle. You caught Cove's eyes and saw that he was doing the same. It had gotten late and it was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's face, you did. With judging. Aber ich würde sagen, das war's. Und dann, also dadurch, dass ich ja die DLCs nicht habe, können wir jetzt machen And Then Summer Ended. Ich weiß jetzt nicht, ob das so ganz weitergeht, aber I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms and Lizzie as the four of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You liked to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we are so dull. Let's get out more. You didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out?
Duh.
Because I know that's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look but didn't dispute the claim. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we play just a little longer? We have to keep playing before it's too late. It is almost over. You put on your best puppy dog eyes. Lizzie may not want to, but you planned on going home. Please, can we just play a little longer? Mom looked down at you with a sigh, and you clasped your hands together to give your plea some extra appeal. We'll help with dinner tomorrow. You immediately nodded in agreement with the very clever offer, shifting closer to Lizzie since your parents can't possibly resist the power of you two combined.
Please!
Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well...
No.
Come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Oh, sie heißt auch noch Pam. Oh, die Gute heißt Pam. Mommy leaned in for a hug and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
All right. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside. Understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Oh, or maybe the playground or the fireflies would probably be coming out right, Don't I get a say in this? You silently made your own plans? We can't go too far, I'm going home. Don't I get a say in this? Lizzie looked over at you, narrowing her eyes like she was very seriously contemplating the answer to that question. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. You stayed outside. I'm sorry, aber hallo. You watched Lizzie run off, twisting your lips as you considered what to do. In the end, the pretty sky and the soothing sound of the waves won out. You strayed off the path, grinning at the feel of the sand quickly filling in the empty space in your flip-flops. That was fun for a while, but you grew bored eventually. How else could you enjoy the remainder of your time at the beach? You looked for seashells, you drew in the wet sand, you roamed around, you looked for seashells. You walked to the shoreline, peering at any debris that washed up. Most of it was just seaweed, rocks and trash, though now and then you'd spot a seashell. You picked up the ones that stood out to you until you had a nice little collection. It was a great evening, but soon enough you had your fill and were ready to join the rest of your family back home. Not too much farther down, you spotted a familiar green head of hair moseying along the shore. You kept going. You went to see what Cove was up to. Curious, you strayed off your path and walked over to him. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, then tossed it out into the water. You were impressed how far he got it to go. It sailed way into the sea. It was a good toss. That was pretty neat. It wasn't a long throw, but he didn't care to try for that. The rock sunk kind of like a rock and fell down almost right after he tossed it. You were impressed. Als Kind konnte ich sowas nicht. You were impressed over how far he got it to go. It sailed way out into the sea. You can't skip rocks in the ocean. What are you doing? You looked for your own rock. What are you doing? Cove jumped a little and you let out a small giggle. Sorry. What are you doing here? I asked first. Cove frowned, turning back to the waves. I'm not doing anything, just thinking. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. When do you get it off? Cove shrugged and didn't say anything. For a second you thought maybe he didn't know, but finally he sighed. A few weeks. You didn't think a few weeks was that bad. That is a while away. That's not very long at all. Ja, okay. Für im Meer zu schwimmen wahrscheinlich. Vor allem, wie lang war der Sommer? Ne? Der Sommer ging schon extremst lang. Wie lange trägt er bitte? 8 Wochen. That is a while away. You hoped the upcoming weeks flew by for Cove. It was clear how badly he wanted it off. Cove let out a huff, plopping down into the sand. I can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. So why don't you want to go? It's nice as far as school goes. You'd only ever been to the one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
I want to go home. Oh man, baby. You weren't sure what to do. It felt weird to just leave him here crying, but what could you say that would help? You frowned a little, starting to stand. Okay, well, bye then. Cove gave his head a small shake. No. I want to go back home. Right, Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. You settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. It'll be alright. This can be your home. Do you hate it here? Warum, da fehlt mir das Tu, aber this can be your home. It's a really nice home if you give it a chance. Cove didn't respond to that. He just tightened his arms around his knees, resting his chin on them. You're not going to leave, right? You still be around? The question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that would be fun. Cove smiled, then looked back to the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually, that I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. Der süße Bräune. You spared a glance over at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Had you guys really been sitting out here that long? You stood and dusted the sand off yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance. Yet ultimately, Okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. In between. Okay, wir müssen jetzt mich neu erstellen. Also ich schätze mal, das ist jetzt, dass wir Teenies sind. Und dementsprechend, also ich lasse alles so, ich verändere nur die Haare. Weil ich meine, ich kann ja nicht... Doch, kann ich wohl. Und ich fühle Little Love, ne? Ich auch. Also ich glaube, er mag uns schon sehr. Wow. So. Ich finde das süß. Aber gibt es nicht irgendwas ein bisschen länger? Eigentlich müsste ich das so machen, ne? Das ist süß, komm, das lasse ich. Das ist gut so fürs Teenie-Alter, ne? Nein, ich muss das bei beige lassen. So. Das ist süß, oder? Das reicht fürs Teenie-Alter. Und dann, wenn die dann wieder erwachsen wird, dann kann sie auch anders aussehen. Das sieht immer noch so ein bisschen... Das ist schade, dass man die Dings nicht ändern kann, die Farbe von den Gläsern. Das sind Blümchen. Aber ich nehme die... Hä? So, guck mal, jetzt als Teenie packen wir auch Dresses und Skirts mit dazu. Da geht es darum, wie du im Text erwähnt wirst. Ach so. Okay. Braces. Ja, im Teenie-Alter hat man Braces. So. Würde die Brille für dich empfehlen. Tatsächlich aber, also wenn ich nach mir gehe, habe ich die ja auch erst mit 19 bekommen, die Brille. Also fast mit 20. Quatsch. Quatsch mit Soße. 2019, da war ich 21. Mit 21 habe ich eine dauerhafte Brille erst angefangen zu tragen. Das heißt, im Erwachsenenalter kommt die erst dazu. So. So, wir sind Font natürlich. Dann erst als Erwachsene, genau, als junge Erwachsene dann, ja. Und wir sind... Was? Wait. Okay, so war das vorher. Was willst du von mir, Sylvie? Crush? Warum Crush? Warum? Warum denn jetzt Crush? Das verstehe ich jetzt nicht. Weil ist doch ein bisschen Love da. Oh mein Gott, diese... Da müssen wir aber auch... Oh mein Gott. Was war jetzt Font? Indifferent war ja weder Liebe noch Freundschaft gefühlt. Font war ja Freundschaft. Crush war ja Liebe. Und Love ist ja dann wirklich schmexy. Glaube ich. Font kann auch freundschaftlich sein. Aber ist das nicht, was wir jetzt gerade empfinden? My feelings for Cove. Ja. Aber können die sich dann noch mehr crushen? Kann ich Cove auch noch ändern? Wir können Cove customizen. Just customize Cove yourself or let his prior experiences determine it. Yes, und ich dachte, da wäre schon ein kleiner Crush da. Ja, also von ihm aus gesehen, ja. Das habe ich ja auch gemerkt. Nur was? Aber ich kann doch seine Appearance customizen. Seine Personality will ich nicht customizen. Das will ich ja so belassen. Aber sein Aussehen, oder? Don't spoiler yourself. Was willst du denn? Kann ich den nicht customizen? Also kann ich nicht entscheiden, wie er aussieht? Weil ich glaube nicht, dass das durch meine Entscheidung beeinflusst wird, oder? Oder haben verschiedene Sachen... Aussehen ändert sich auch automatisch. Ja, du kannst auch das Aussehen beeinflussen. Ich schätze mal, da fehlt beeinflussen. Man darf ja gar nichts machen. Aussehen ändern, aber er verändert sich auch optisch. Ja, logisch. Wenn wir älter werden, natürlich verändert er sich, aber verändert er sich dann auch je nach wie... So, aber... Wow. So. Wir speichern hier. Wir haben gespeichert. Und machen dann hier einen Cut und Feierabend. Weil die Aufnahme geht jetzt schon wieder 1 Stunde 40. Und dann können wir schön mit dem Teenie-Alter dann im nächsten Part, beziehungsweise im nächsten Jahr anfangen. Weil ich beginne jetzt dann meine Weihnachts- und Neujahrspause. Und dann geht es im neuen Jahr weiter. Und ich hoffe, dass ich da dann auch mal ein bisschen länger bleiben kann, damit wir auch wieder ein bisschen mehr spielen können und so. Aber ja. Bis dahin, ne, YouTube, danke fürs dabei sein und bis zum nächsten Mal. Und natürlich frohe Weihnachten werden es nicht mehr, aber ein schönes neues Jahr.